but let's break it down in more detail and look at some examples. So we're going to use our normal sum math here. So we're going to say, I would like to number all of my notes, and then all of the notes are going to have, these are going to be how I represent them. A, this stands for A sharp or B flat. I don't care which you call it. I'm going to call it number 2 for the ease purposes. And if I have to deal with that note, I want to call it a number 2 because that's going to allow me to do some simple math, particularly if I'm trying to look at distances to figure out what key I am and what the related major is. And then I can combine them together. So these are the note names and the note numbers. All right, so then in the modes. So I'm going to keep on hounding on the modes because I think the modes are going to be particularly important for us to basically understand the Nashville music system is in essence in the modes, and they're always in order. They're like in a circle. So we have Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, and then we're going to repeat it over again. So then we have the mode numbers. Now, these are what I'm going to call absolute mode numbers, like the Nashville number system. I don't care if I'm in the major key or the minor key. I want to keep the numbers the same. I think that's actually the more sophisticated thing to do. That, you know, and again, this is the paradigm shift that I'm really kind of advocating here. And that is, most people think that it's the shortcut thing to do. It's the Nashville number system. It's the hack. It's the hack thing to do to try to keep the number system the same. And the sophisticated people, those people are going to shift the numbers. But no, it's actually the other way around, right? There's no, the shifting the numbers all around doesn't make any sense, right? It's not sophisticated to do something that doesn't make sense. Now, I mean, you could make some arguments on the piano why it would make more sense, because they start to, when you look at sheet music, they name the sheet music on basically how many half steps are in a scale. So you start to memorize all these half steps because that helps you to memorize the black keys on the piano, because you have to memorize 12 different shapes on a piano. So it kind of makes sense, although it's still kind of a hack. It makes no sense on a guitar because there are no black keys. I don't need to know what how many sharps and flats. I just need to see what the shape is, right? So I want to see it in a number that's uniform. That's the way that's the sophisticated way to do it. That's the proper way. All right. So it's 1, 2. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's only 7 modes. All right. So then we can give them Roman numerals, meaning what type of mode are each of these, and that'll also tell us what kind of 3-note triad would be built from it. So the Ionian number 1 is capital because it's a major key, which has a major 3rd. Dorian is a minor 2. Phrygian is a minor 3. The Lydian is a major 4. Mixolydian is a major 5. Aeolian is a minor 6. And the Locrian is the diminished 7, has a flat 3rd as well as a flat 5. So then we have the formula, which you could state as whole. And this is what one of the ways we work with it. So remember, the formula is kind of in between these here. So if we're going from the 1 to the 2, it's a whole step. If we're going from the 2 to the 3, it's going to be a half step. If we're going from the 3 to the 4, it's going to be a whole step. 4 to 5, it's going to be a whole step. 5 to 6 is a whole step. And then 6 to 7, 6 to 7 is a whole step, and 7 back to 1 is a half step. Sorry about that. And then we're going to repeat the process once again. Now, note that if someone says they're on the Aeolian, then what do we have to do? We don't need to remember a different formula. You can remember it as though it's a different formula, but you might as well just say in your mind, hey, look, it's whole, half, whole, and that gets us to the Aeolian. So if I'm on the Aeolian and I want to get to the Ionian, or if I'm on the 6 Nashville number music and I want to get to the 1, I've got to do a whole, half, whole. Now notice if you're going back the other way, like if I was on Aeolian down here, because these are in the middle, so I'm on Aeolian and now the whole is right here to get back to the whole would be up here. It's staggered one, right? So we're on the Aeolian whole to get to the Mixolydian whole to get to the Lydian, and so on and so forth. So when one of the things that's going to be an issue is to say, hey, look, if I'm on like the Aeolian, does it make more sense to try to get to the Ionian by going backwards or forwards? And typically on the Aeolian, because it's greater than 4, right, it makes more sense to go forward. So if someone says they're playing in Aeolian, otherwise known as the minor, how am I going to get to the related major? I'm not going to count back from the 6 to the 1. It's going to be easier to go from the 6, 7, 1 this way, to go up around the circle to figure out where the major is. But, and that's the most common one, by the way, but if we were playing in the Dorian, then do I want to count forward or backwards? It's clearly, it would be easier, although more difficult for most people, to count backwards. The Dorian is the second of my collection of notes. So if someone says they're on the Dorian, then what we're going to do is go back to the Ionian, which would be a whole step back, right? This whole step back to get to the Ionian. All right. Now, if I look at these formulas, remember that that whole step stands for 2. Our unit of major is a half step. So it's 2 half steps, 2 half steps, whole step. I'm sorry. It's two half step, 2 half step, 1 half step, 2, 2, 2, 1. So it's possibly better to actually memorize it this way. 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. And if you know your notes as numbers as well, then this will make it a lot easier. And remember, I just want to keep pointing out that a lot of people on a piano don't really see it this way, in part because they're visualizing where the black notes are on the piano. So what they want to do is they want to say, hey, look, there's so many sharps and flats in each of the keys, which helps me to identify where my hands go physically on the piano. But again, that doesn't make any sense on the guitar at all. And even on the piano, I think it's a shortcut that's may not even be the best thing to do, although you have to memorize your shapes, and that might be helpful. For us, it would be a lot easier to say, hey, look, I would like to know what the number is, and then learn the numbers 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1 on the guitar, so I can do some simple math to try to figure things out. How are we going to figure things out? I figure things out by a complete uniform shape on the guitar. Notice there's pros and cons on the guitar, right? Because I have 6 strings. That makes it difficult. The shape looks crazy instead of 1 string, but it's completely symmetrical, which is a huge benefit. The piano is not, right? So that's why on the piano, you're trying to memorize where the black notes are going to be in the pattern. It's different for all 12 patterns of all your collections of notes, where on the guitar, it's completely the same. All right. So I don't want to do, so the sharps and flats, like memorizing my sharps and flats, unless I'm reading sheet music, is not helpful. That's not helpful for me, right? Because it doesn't help me finger the guitar at all. All right. So just if you're a guitar player, that's useful information to know. Okay. I'm just saying. All right. So let's practice one. We'll just go through all of them. Let's say we're on the Dorian. So we're on the Dorian, let's say, and I'm going to go down here and say that we have then let's do it this way. I'm going to say that we're on D Dorian. So we're going to imagine someone says, hey, now I'm going to make all of these tie out to kind of like the major key, because I think that's just good practice for us, because we have an internal control of not having any of the sharps and flats, but then you can apply the same concept to any other key, right? So we're going to say it's going to be the D Dorian. How could I figure out then what the related major is? Because I'm going to say, okay, that's cool, because I know where the tonic is if I'm in D Dorian. So I'm going to go down here and say, So I'm going to say, look, here's my guitar. Usually I find it on the top string. I'm like, oh, there's the D. So I know my tonic is there. I know where my Ds are. That's cool, possibly, or at least I can find one D. I want to memorize at least the top 2 strings, be able to find it there and there. But I don't know what the shape is because it's Dorian, and I typically know my collection of notes as it relates to the major key. So how can I get to the related major key? Well, I know that the Dorian is the second, right? It's the second mode. So the easiest thing to do would say, I'm going to go back 1 mode. There's 7 modes. I'm on the Nashville number system number 2. I need to go back what I would call 1 modal half step. So notice going back 1 nodal half step isn't necessarily 1 note half step, but if I know my shape, then I can say, then it's going to be one half whole step back, right? Because it's the formula goes whole step, right? From the major to the Dorian, from the 1 to the 2. That means if I go backwards, I'm going to go back that whole step. And also realize that the distance between any of these nodes is always the same. So I know that I'm going from a D to a C, which I would call a modal range of a 2-1 modal range, right? So which if you were going to go forward, but if we're going backwards, it's going to be 2 half steps back or 1 modal half step back, which means that if I was to go forward, how many modal whole steps forward? Well, 7 minus 1 would be 6 modal whole steps forward, which you can't quite see, right? If I was down here on like this D, let's say this D, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 forward, right? So that's how I can basically find it, and then I can see what my shape is. Now remember, what the most clear thing to say is, if you're being nice to someone and you want to play in D Dorian, you're going to say, hey, look, we're going to be playing in the collection of notes related to the C major, and we're going to have the tonic, the modal center, be the 2 of it, which is the Dorian. So we're going to say collection of notes named by the note in the major key, and then we're going to be playing around the Dorian, the 2, right? That would be the nice way to say it, right? But no one does that, mostly because they're trying to be jerks, right? They're being jerks on purpose. See if you can figure it out. But